Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Star Wars Rebels episode review. This one's going to be for Season 1, Episode 1, and I suppose 2, but it is just one episode, The Siege of Lothal. So this is our Season 2 premiere. We're finally back after the break, and overall I thought this was a really good opener to the season. I think that's the main thing to get out of the way, that the Season 1 finale was on like a whole other level compared to all of the other episodes in Season 1. And this was basically of the same quality. I don't think it had the same level of like reveals, like the instant impact of Ahsoka and Darth Vader are coming into the story. Here we got some Ahsoka, got some Darth Vader, but there's definitely more to come. This was just our first kind of interaction, first fight with Darth Vader. There's much more to come, and I'm pretty just excited about where things seem to be going. They didn't really set up that much of a plot or real character stuff just yet beyond the Ahsoka Darth Vader connection, and maybe this Kanan not being happy with the rebellion type situation. But for the most part, it was just like, okay, we're here, and we're going to do rebel stuff. There's no straight up plot presented to us just yet, which will come, I assume, in time, but it was just a little bit like, you're not really going down much of a plot road here. You haven't set up a whole massive amount with the characters just yet. But anyway, let's get into some specifics here. The most notable thing, I think, the thing that will be most talked about after this episode, is definitely the Darth Vader and Ahsoka stuff. Even though, at the end of the day, that was like a minute or two of the episode, if even that. The main thing we got was that Ahsoka, with the help of Kanan, senses the presence of Darth Vader in his TIE interceptor, and she realizes kind of who it is. But she doesn't tell the rest of the crew that she either knows who it is or has an idea about who it is. Now, this is just a little bit of a mystery that I assume is going to play out over the course of the next few episodes, if not the whole season, that it's going to come into play that maybe in the past she has come to know that Anakin became Darth Vader, or that at that moment when she sensed him, she realized who Darth Vader is. So that's going to be an interesting thing about when does she eventually decide to tell everyone, if she ever does. And just what that reveals, like, will we get any backstory on Ahsoka about what she's been up to between where she left the Clone Wars and where she is now? Because in this episode, we didn't really get much Ahsoka. She had about 3 or 4 lines. She went along with them, obviously in the kind of battle, I suppose, when Vader came into play. But beyond that, it was just 1 or 2 lines. She was just there back on the Rebel command ship, and she said a line or two. She seems quite serious, but definitely it was notable that she didn't just jump straight into being part of the main cast just yet. So that's interesting. I suppose it's a good use of the character in that they're not just going, hey, this is Clone Wars Mark II. This is still about our Rebels characters, and Ahsoka happens to be here, and she'll probably become more and more involved in the series as we go on. So I'm excited to see where they go with her, because definitely she is a lot more serious. I still think they need to address the fact that she isn't part of the Jedi Order, but still is going to be using the Force and using her lightsabers, but which may contrast if she actually gets to see Kanan training Ezra in the kind of classic Jedi way. She may have some comments about that, so that's going to be an interesting interaction. But coming back to what I kind of was opening this up with, the idea that both of them now know who the other is. Again, Ahsoka may not fully know who Darth Vader actually is, but if she definitely has at least an idea about who it is. But the main thing was that Darth Vader now knows that Ahsoka is still alive, and the way they did the scene with the Emperor towards the end of the episode, I think, was really well done. In that this is a type of interaction between Vader and the Emperor that we haven't really got all that much. This idea that Darth Vader is actually the Emperor's apprentice. Vader is not the master here. The whole Sith Lord thing is that they both call each other Lord and stuff like that, but Vader is still like Sidious's apprentice. And especially the book that just recently came out, Lords of the Sith, I think did a really good job of explaining their relationship. That as much as Vader is the apprentice that kind of Sidious always wanted, he still always exerts his kind of power over Vader, and is always kind of pointing out these little flaws that come into Vader's style of doing things. So you can see what he does here when he kind of questions Vader about kind of, are you sure about if this is Ahsoka and stuff like that. That this is a thing about his past that is coming back up again. And it was very, very specific that Vader was referring to Anakin Skywalker as if it was another person. That he's trying to remove himself so far from his past life that he's actually just referring to that as being a different person, even though it's his apprentice. So that was interesting. He recognized her straight away, and maybe it'll be something they address with Vader's character over the course of the season, that will he still have some sort of feelings connection to her when he actually maybe comes to face her in battle, or they actually talk face to face? Will there be anything there? A lot of people are expecting a big confrontation to end with Vader killing her, but it could also be a situation where him sparing her is the first hint that there is still some good left in him, that he can't go as far as to kill his apprentice, just like he couldn't kill his son in the original trilogy, and went as far as to save him. Maybe they'll do something like that, but right now in this episode, Vader was just our big villain. He is on another level to basically everyone that Kanan has come up against. The Inquisitor kind of was more powerful than Kanan at points, but they managed to defeat him in the end. But just the way the fight went in this episode, they didn't have a chance, really. They managed to get away by force pushing him away as an explosion happened to go off, but Vader brushed that off when it would have killed anyone else. That was big. And just the fact that when he was around, our characters got injured. Kanan got I don't know if he actually, I suppose his arm had to at least get hurt somewhat when he got the slash on his shoulder. And then Sabine fires 2 shots at Vader, and they both get deflected back at her. And I was expecting them to just go wide and miss her, but she gets hit with both of them, and I was for a second, just a second, I thought they'd killed off Sabine, because they made it very clear that one hit her directly in or around where her heart would be, and then the other one right in the center of the head. And I was just whoa, if this was any other character, not a main character, that would be a dead blow, basically. But they just took it as it just damaged her armor a little bit, and it shook her up because she got shot at, which was a little bit odd. But it was just a big moment that added some drama to the fight. That whoa, she just got hit. Kanan just got cut. Ezra nearly got killed by Vader as well. And just the way it went, that he is so much more powerful than them, that there's a lot of training that needs to be done before any of these characters come anywhere close to Vader. Now, Ahsoka, I assume, is going to be somewhat of a match for him, but again, we don't know how much training she's done since she's left, or what she's been up to. We see from this episode that she is kind of on another level to Kanan, because obviously just by the way the timing went, he only recently had gotten his master and was actually being trained as a Padawan by the time the Clone Wars happened, and he lost his master, whereas Ahsoka was with Anakin for at least a year or two, so she has that more training. So that's interesting by itself. So again, that interesting dynamic between all the Jedi is going to be interesting too. But the other big, I suppose, character point of the whole episode was that Kanan didn't want to stay with the rebellion, because he wants to do that whole Robin Hood style thing where they just do these little missions, they steal from the Empire and give to the needy, and they just help people out just as a solo group. And the idea of being part of a military kind of faction that's actively opposing them, and they all have specific ranks in this organization, doesn't really appeal to him, because obviously I think the idea they're going for here is that the last time he had a military rank during the Clone Wars, everything went wrong. The second he found a place where he could call home, everything went wrong. And the Kanan comic book series, Kanan the Last Padawan, seems to be going down that road that everything he feels, every time he feels like he's finally found a place he can call home, it always kind of goes wrong for him. That happened with the Jedi. We assume it's going to happen with something else in the comic book series, and maybe he feels that way with the Rebels. That the second he takes up the rank of like General Kanan or something like that, it's all going to fall apart, and he's kind of wants to get away from that. But everyone else on the team does want to be a part of this rebellion, because they know they can do much more as part of this group, as shown with the Phoenix Squad, which is introduced, and this whole little band of rebels that we have here with Commander Sato and Ahsoka and the Phoenix Squad, and helping them out. The opening action scene, actually, that started off this two-parter, was really good at just showing you how much the crew, the Ghost, can do with some backup. That they had the Ghost, they had the Phantom, plus all the squadron of fighters, and they could do a lot in that opening fight scene. Even when things got pretty crazy with like extra Star Destroyers coming in, they still managed to get out with all the cargo that they needed. And it was just a really, really cool fight scene to see everyone involved. Like, Ezra clearly has grown in the little gap that we've had between seasons, and is definitely taking on more of a like commanding role. He's not just the rookie; he's now a kind of almost veteran part of this group. So that was very nice to see. But yeah, in other stuff, we got the death of Minister Tua, which I thought they were really going to go somewhere with this. When it was clear that she realized she's got herself in too deep. That as much as the Empire is the powerful thing in the galaxy and she has a pretty good position, the second something goes wrong for her, she knows that she's going to be killed. And so she basically is completely willing to betray the Empire and make deals with the rebels because of that. And she's just fearing for her life and is willing to give away all this information to survive. I thought they were going to do something really cool where this character is going to stick around for a while, be this kind of informant for the rebels, and then maybe something happens to her. But no, just straight away, the way they killed her off was pretty crazy. I just wasn't expecting that. They just go, you get to the shuttle, go, go, go. She walks in, they're about to follow her in, and the thing just explodes. And she was caught right in the middle, and it's just like, wow, that was a pretty crazy way to kill her. She just got completely blown up. And Vader just knew what was going to happen, planning it the whole time. And I think that was a kind of big thing in this episode, that the rebels had, for the most part, even when they've been found out before their plan comes into play, they've always managed to get out reasonably safely. But just Vader being on scene, Callus seeming to take up a much bigger role as kind of Vader's right-hand man in these couple of episodes, they seem really on top of everything that's going on, and it's going to be a hard time for the rebels to get anything done. That's more or less the whole episode. The other thing was just Vader obviously called for Tarkin Town to be burned down, and I suppose you had Ezra kind of questioning that we made this happen. Like, we may not have actively caused this place to be burned down, but our actions resulted in someone taking action against us, and that this happening. And Kanan just telling him that what we're doing is good, we're making a change, but sometimes these things happen, there are casualties in this sort of stuff, and it's just the getting across the harsh reality of everything that happens, that it can't always just go right. These horrible things just happen from time to time. That's about it. It's just a kind of big opening that after they've joined up with the rebels, they had this really big victory right at the end of this first season, and now we get just this crushing defeat. Vader's on the opposing side. Ahsoka is kind of lost in thought over the potential that Vader is Anakin and how that reunion is going to go. So I think definitely going forward, the biggest things is just I really want to get into Ahsoka's head. I really want to get more character for her. I want them to get a plot going in terms of what season 2 is going to revolve around. Is it just going to be the same as season 1, where they just do these random missions and from time to time we get a more plot focused thing going, but this time in season 2 we have a bigger rebel faction? Or are we going to actually see some stuff like, is Leia going to get involved in the series? Are we going to get hints at Luke? Is Lando going to be more of a kind of player in the series, because we saw him come back, even if only for a hologram and for a little bit, and his droid did most of the work. It was still the return of Lando. From here on out, the series seems to be referencing a lot more stuff that's come before. But anyway, that's been the review. Not much else to say. If you have any thoughts on the episode yourself, or comments on my own review, leave them in the comments below. But thanks for watching this video, and bye.